So how many restraining orders does the waitress have?
A lot, dude. I mean, she's been irritated with me. She's like, you got me fired from the Oldies Rock Cafe. You're gonna get me fired from the coffee shop.
This is incredible. You gotta listen to this message. Come here, seriously. This chick is so in love with me. It's crazy.
Hi, Dennis. It's Kaylee. I was just calling to let you know that I hope you die.
Super Flag Bros.
You're obviously a terrible person with no regard for anyone but yourself. I never, ever want to see you again, you steaming pile of horse shit. Go to hell.
Oh, that's amazing.
Division 6 Podcast.
Oh, guys, I have a system, a foolproof system for getting any chick's undying love and devotion for life.
With D's Delaries
And once we're on my bed, it is game over. I engage her physically, and the sexual waltz begins.
and P's Delaries.
Smooth. Very, very smooth stuff. Very classy. I'm learning a lot from you right now, dude.
Okay, now, once you've had sex with the woman, she will naturally start to depend on you, okay? All women do this.
They certainly do. You got that right.
Solid. We are solid and we are live here at www.theunclemikeshow.com in Coast to Coast Studios. This is, of course, Super Flag Bros. So if you tuned in to watch something else, then it's a fortunate mistake. This is the best 25 to 30 to 45 minutes you'll ever spend. I am P's
Depending how late you are.
Depending how late I am. Today I am on time. We're slightly delayed for bird and fowl related reasons. I'm joined in studio by D's Delaries, and you can be followed
At Miss America.
Remember to tweet him at Miss America or at his real Twitter handle, which is at
Peanut butter sandwiches.
Peanut Butter Sandwiches or at Dave's Republic.
Dave's Republic.
And if you want to live tweet the show, of course, you can do so at Eagle FPF. And you can also ask him why he was late.
I wasn't late.
Why he was late. Thank you everyone for joining us. We have a ton of action. And I opened the wrong script, so let's just talk about football in general. Or what we can talk about is the Sun Bros versus Wax On, Wax Off. Just tell us a little bit about the game.
Okay, well, that was kind of a confusing intro.
That's what I do.
But this was a pretty interesting matchup in general. We had two teams facing off that previously were at the top of Conference B. This was a make or break game for both teams, really.
Absolutely.
Because essentially, this kind of a game would kind of push you forward or backwards, substantially in the conference. Now,
we'll of course take a closer look at the conference standings.
We will
in the next segment.
And it's not like other. And what's really interesting about Division 6 and what I love about it so much is that when you get to this point of the season. Wins and losses matter so much, and it's not about making a playoffs at this point. And maybe for the lower teams it is, but for these specific games, it's really about like where you're going to be positioned going to the playoffs. And for a lot of teams in our league, they don't really care, or they don't even know who they're going to be playing against. But sometimes it's kind of good to know where you want to win, who you want to play.
Absolutely. Strategic positioning is huge in playoffs.
Why haven't you shaved yet?
What?
Why haven't you shaved yet?
Shaved what?
You didn't shave yet.
Shaved.
I'm disappointed.
But this is my normal facial hair that I have all the time.
I know, but you should shave.
Okay.
You should have a
What happens is actually I don't actually shave. I have a crew of 30 supposedly virgins, but we know they're not.
No.
They all delicately caress the hairs off my face. It's
pretty good.
What remains. I live an amazing life.
Wait, that's why it rains.
That's why it rains. That's
Okay,
exactly why it
right.
rains. So in this game, Wax On, Wax Off limited to 6 points in the second half. Belmar threw it away basically with 3 picks. What do you think is up with their offense? We've seen this kind of struggle before.
Well, we kind of talked about how they've always kind of teetered between, it almost feels like they kind of end the game kind of slow. Maybe that can be what it is. But I also think that it's not really much to we can't really take anything away from the Sunbros. They're playing very strong. Mm-hmm. Since the beginning of the season, we're seeing a team that's really, really impressed us. And this is just it's tough because we were talking about this last week as well. Wax On, Wax Off. I mean, their games are always really close, and if you really can't put up substantial numbers, you're gonna get into situations where one bad play, as we saw in this game, can potentially, end up in a loss.
Absolutely. Lerner continues to spread the ball. Justin Lerner of Sunbros, quarterback. continues to spread the ball, hitting 5 different receivers in this game. It's kind of been his trademark. I personally think, obviously we know Darren. I need help with that name.
Oh!
Really, Ben, would you like to try?
Where is it?
What?
Migesian.
McDazian.
How come he doesn't get any slack?
All right, because I didn't automatically pronounce it wrong. Darren McDazian, of course, being the big target for him once again, but still, we see the ball get spread around to all receivers. In my opinion, that makes this kind of offense the most dangerous type of offense. Do you agree, or do you think in the playoffs you really need one guy to stand up and take charge?
No, I definitely think in the playoffs it's really one guy. It's tough. It's tough to say that, but I think I've lost so much in playoff action in FPF, and I've always tend to lose against a team where they got one guy that just burns you all game. And
if you can have one matchup. That being said, I'm not convinced that kind of team wins the championship.
You know what I think it is? You know what I kind of think of it? Like, you know how in the NBA you have during the regular season depth is the best, but when you get to the playoffs, all that matters is your starting players.
Yes, but that doesn't work in my opinion because in an NBA final you can just give the ball to Kobe and score 50 points.
But what I'm kind of getting at is just like, I think that when you get to the playoffs, you need to know what works because you don't have a 7-game series. You have one game, right? Yeah. So
that being said, I don't think that kind of team. I think that type of team that tends to make a lot of noise early in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I think a team like Sunrose that has a lot of different options is a better contender for the championship because if you can't take away his option because he always has other options he can go to. So in this game, once McDazian started to see a bit of coverage, runner very comfortable spreading the ball, and I think we'll start to see that into postseason as well. A matchup I would love to see in the postseason again is Beast Mode beating Mean Machine 38-17. Now, Beast Mode's 3-1-1 in the last 5 games. Do you think, as I do, that they would give Mean Machine a real run for their money and a rematch?
Oh, they definitely would. Like, we've kind of seen them on an uptrend. And the thing about Division 6...
Hashtag uptrend.
Is that a thing?
We don't know if it's a word or not.
It's Google,
prove or deny.
Why not?
Why not?
That's the thing about Division 6. It's such a weird division at times where, like, teams kind of they come out a bit soft at the beginning of the season, but they kind of end it off on a hot streak, And looking at Beast Mode, this is in no way a terrible loss. I think they put up a strong fight, but at the end of the day, this is still the kind
My mistake. I think I read Beast Mode 38, Mean Machine 17. It was actually, in fact, Mean Machine winning 38-17.
But I still get
27.
27.
I still
just wrong in the script overall.
I still get
sorry about that. Both teams.
I still get your point, though. I still get your point, and I want to talk specifically about Beast Mode, and I think that for them, they're not a bad team. They're a middle of the road team. They always put up a fight against every team they play against. So I could see them being a tough out in the playoffs. And that's definitely something that you can hope for because me and you know that your record now or your record that when you end your regular season means nothing.
That's true.
Going in,
that's something.
We were undefeated. We lost our first playoff game.
Of course,
so.
and we'll talk about that more when we get to the next segment, which is the playoff breakdown, of course. But for now, Daniel Goloff heading into the playoffs, he's starting to look more like himself, throwing 6 touchdowns and 0 INTs. I say more like himself. It's his first season, so I'm assuming good is himself because that's how he started the season. He seems to be back on track. Do you think Goloff has the ability to go into the playoffs and dominate his first time around, or will we see a bit of the inconsistency that we've seen in previous weeks?
Well, I think in the past 3 weeks he's done very well. I mean, in he's had roughly about how many touchdowns? About 20 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks.
The past 3 weeks he has 11 touchdowns.
11 touchdowns.
But
mathematics
because
15.
Actually, you know what? And he's doing better than I thought. Against the Diablos, only throwing 2 touchdowns. And then Team 4th and 20. I thought he played well, just against a team that I thought they would dominate. Kind of left them in the game. But again, against in this game here against Beast Mode, we see his
full potential.
Yeah, full potential.
Well, I think
so. Will we? Because in my opinion,
right,
for a team like Mean Machine, that's the kind of game they'll need to play to win in the playoffs.
But it's all on how you end off the season, and I strongly believe that if you can really take the last few the games and really filter out all of the bad things, all of the bad karma out of your team, and really focus on what's good and what works. If you can end off on a high at the end of the season, go into the playoffs with another 5 touchdown performance, it does wonders for your confidence, for your team confidence, and for your confidence as well. So if you can continue this trend for the last 2 games, there's 2 games left, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
We should probably know that. Actually, there's 1 game left. My mistake.
One game left. Yeah.
It's actually complicated this season because
There's
several
bye weeks,
divisions
yeah.
have bye weeks.
That's it, 'cause we have a bye week,
We have a
so-
bye week in Division 3, so yeah, absolutely. It does get a little bit confusing. I know when I was posting my article today, I was like, 5 plays till halftime, week 9?
Nice.
But there's 2 games left, so it's kind of strange.
But if you can end off this last game with a similar...
Eli Manning, you know how he always ends his playoff runs like at the end of the season really well.
Eagles making a comparison to Eli Manning for those that don't hear. Eli Manning, known for having terrible seasons and then just making a strong run into the playoffs and in the playoffs as well, and the 2 Super Bowl championships.
It makes sense. It's a very good analogy, and in a sense, like this game coming up, okay, it's going to be essentially it's going to be a very tough game. Playing against a very tough competition, and I think like if you can, like I said, if you can end off the season with a strong performance, 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, end it clean.
Yeah.
I think going in you're gonna have quite a bit of confidence. I mean, look, there's no joke. It's not a joke game coming up. They're playing at Sunbros.
Absolutely,
and we just talked about them. So.
And of course we'll get into a little bit about what's going to happen when we do our predictions later on in the show.
Are we?
For now, however, a game with big at the bottom of the standings, but with a lot of playoff implications. Pocket Watch beats TMNB, which I now know officially stands for Teenage Mutant Ninja Bortles.
How did you know this?
I asked the captain at the coin toss.
And why Bortles?
Because apparently Jacksonville is awesome to 3 people, and they all play for TMNB.
Amazing.
Actually, they just randomly looked up fantasy football team names, and they liked that one, so they stuck with it.
Awesome.
Also, Bortles kind of looks like a turtle, so it works.
Yeah, I can see it.
So this game, I mean, I don't want to talk a lot about what happened in the game because obviously I played in it. So
let me talk about it.
Exactly.
Let me talk about it. Number 1.
Nice segue.
Number 1. I think that you were scared. You're scared of your pants because
Almost
we
went to
made a bet
church.
last week. What?
Almost at the church, so to speak.
Hey,
We made a bet last week, Brent.
that was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. He was here. I can never tell.
He's here
But
once in a while.
we made a bet. We made a bet that if you would lose, that you would turn over the reins to GM collect your ass.
Yeah, and we all know how much I love the spotlight on myself.
Yeah.
So I would never let that happen.
Right.
So that's pretty much, that was my motivation.
But-
that was every play call was I'm not going to throw the ball to Jim because I think he'll drop it on purpose so that...
But now that you've actually played this team, that you have some insider perspective on this team itself, what can you tell me about them? Because we don't talk about them nearly enough because of their positioning.
Well, yeah, because they unfortunately they haven't won a game yet. I think there's a lot of talent. What I do see is some disorganization on the defense. To be honest, if I was a more capable quarterback, we would have seen this game get out of hand, I think. So I think just learning schemes, being able to communicate better on defense, not giving away coverage. Essentially, it was too easy for me to tell. When they have a safety back, it's obviously 4-1. When they play up close, it's obviously man. The offense actually had some nice plays.
So you like Justin Ferreira?
I think he's solid. They alternated quarterbacks, but it just stick to one guy because the concepts make sense. They use a lot of flooding in the flats. They made it difficult for our defense. They forced our defense to have to make plays. So in that way, TMNB, I think they have a lot to build on, in my opinion. I think that they should establish who the core is. If it's a team of all friends, you want to keep that together, I respect that. That's cool. If you can trim some of the fat and focus on some of your best players, I think that's a good option. And I think that there's some experience in the team, and they've already learned a lot this season of how to best use their assets. So I think it's a lot to build on for the future.
Best use your ass.
Yes, best to use it. In this game, Kwesi Gordon-Mall, since joining Pocket Watch.
What's his name?
Kwesi Gordon-Mall.
I always have a hard time, and you've told me this name multiple times.
Yeah.
Kwesi Gordon-Mall.
Gordon-Mall.
Gordon Mall.
Yeah.
Kwesi Gordon Mall.
Yeah, absolutely.
pretty good.
You can't be stuck in a name because I have a question to ask you.
Tell me.
Since joining, he's added a huge dimension for Pocket Watch. In this game, we saw him have 7 catches, have several carries, put up a lot of yardage, rushing as well. Eagle, just bring that up real quick. 68 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. In sort of something I've spoken out against often,
right?
In using sort of a wildcat formation. We used it in this game. We used it to great success, and we see Kwesi putting up those numbers. Can he be contained and stopped? And if so, how do you think that?
Number one,
the
he
approach
can't
is?
be contained.
Okay.
He can't. He's extremely fast. He's very athletic. I think he's wasting his time on your team.
That's right.
Definitely.
He's a
needs to
really
move
nice
on.
dude, by the way.
if it was up to me, I would tell him. I'd say, dude, you got to move on. You know. But you know what? Look, I think there's just some players in this league that are just uncontainable. You know, Hugo Lalonde is another guy that we know. We've played against him. We in higher divisions. That's an example of a guy that's not containable. Sometimes it's just not, because it's not tackle football. Like it's really all about getting that far.
No Tupperware in the world that can hold that in. Essentially. Right. We're gonna cut to break real quick. When we come back, I'll ask you about your sunglasses and whether or not Brett the Hitman Hart wants them back. And we'll talk about some playoff stuff.
Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for CEGEP or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information or visit www.distanted.ca for more details.
And we have returned to Super Flag Bros. If it's super and it's flag and it's bros, you found the right show. You are, of course, watching on www.theunclemikeshow.com at Coast to Coast Studios. I find it funny that I've never worked a day in radio yet. I never forget to do it, but Mo Khan constantly does. You can tweet me live at any time at PSFPF, but if you won't tweet the show live and it's easier for me to read out, you can tweet our producer Eagle at Master Control by tweeting at EagleFPF. I am joined in studio with Deez Delaries, and of course you can absolutely tweet him at
Balls Deep.
At Balls Deep. There's a team in Division 6 who we're definitely going to talk about. They're in Conference B. Conference B is kind of strange at the moment because the 8 teams making the playoffs are decided. Like for Team 1420, Orange Crush, Goon Squad, guys, maybe you should all get together, go to a gentleman's club perhaps, eat some cheap chicken wings, maybe go disco bowling, maybe do some laser tag, but your season's done. Your season's done. It's unfortunate, but it's...
I think it's a good idea to go bowling. I think as a team, I think in general, it probably helps confidence-wise.
And maybe you learn a sport that you're better at.
No, but I think I think you know
You're teasing, of course.
you're clearly teasing about it. But at the end of the day, like, you know, it's hard for guys to find reasons to actually get together at this point of the season. The guys just drop out; they don't even show up to games. So like,
Yeah. Or you mentally check out like Eagle in his games. For those of you watching, of course, you see that we have the standings on the screen. I'll read them out in a second, but just for those who listen to the podcast, note that if you want to tune in next week and you can see the standings and follow along with us, kind of like a read along. And you can see the horrible Excel sheets. Eagles got no sense of style, by the way.
I'm trying to understand what you're getting at. So there's going to be an Excel sheet.
okay?
There's going to be an Excel sheet that's going to be posted online.
No, it's posted right now. The viewers are seeing this. What you're seeing on the screen is what viewers are seeing on the screen right now.
But I don't get it. But
Instead of your face,
we're seeing it,
They're
but
seeing it.
they're seeing it
yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. It's
It's Inception.
radio inception. In Conference B, we have Part of My Swag leading the way. It's 16 points. The Mean Machine right behind, having a huge tiebreaker now, or tiebreak potential as they face Sunbros in the final week of the season. That's going to be, in my opinion, game of the week for Division 6. We have Wax On, Wax Off, Diablos, Balls Deep at 6. Beast Mode at 6,
Beast Mode.
Balls Deep at 7, and Tigers.
It's kind of
at
how
8.
we saw this panning out, right? Like,
More or less.
Going in?
The three teams that have been eliminated are teams that have either struggled
Yeah.
or are completely brand new teams in a division with a lot of experience. Like, Conference A has a lot of top end talent, but Conference B is interesting just because the amount of experience in all these teams.
but then again, you see a team like Orange Crush that's it's not their first rodeo.
But they're an experienced team that just hasn't, they don't have a quarterback, and they've had like 5 guys throw a ball, and you know what I always say is if you have more than one quarterback, then you have none at all. So, do you see any movement in this right here? Or do you think,
For Conference B specifically?
yeah, like within the 8 teams, do you see anyone moving up? Do you see anyone moving down?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the way I think this is kind of going to be set at this point, between Wax On, Wax Off and Diablos, which are both between the number 4 and number 5 spot, maybe there might be some movement there. But Mean Machine is playing Sunbros next week. And
Yeah, that's
this
the big
is
one.
going to be a big game because it's essentially going to decide who they're playing, and that's how they're going to end off the season. So I think to me that's going to be the top game next week. That's really going to shuffle things around. But
Yeah.
otherwise, and even if one wins or loses, it's not going to change too much. I don't
And
think.
Balls Deep and Tigers both face off against teams. They face off against the Team 4 and 20 and Goon Squad, respectively. So that'll be difficult for them. Beast Mode faces off against Diablos, and I think that's another one. The 5 and 6. Again, it's interesting because Beast Mode now would they rather face Wax On or Wax On, Wax Off, who's had their difficulty, or Sunbros, who look to be getting stronger each week. Right now they're slated to play Sunbros. If they can beat Diablos, they can move up to that next spot potentially, and
So you're saying that you wouldn't want to play Wax On, Wax Off?
I'm saying that right now the preferable matchup, just the way they've been playing, is probably Wax On, Wax Off. In fact, there's even a chance they move up and they take the 4 spot.
You know how before I was saying how like you got to have that one guy that's going to be reliable, one guy you can rely on. That's the thing about Wax On, Wax Off. I think that Danny Demore really shines.
Danny Love.
Danny Love really shines.
Say it properly.
Danny Love.
There we go.
He really shines in big spots, and he really shines. And I think that this playoff specifically, I think we're gonna see him just unleash his madness,
Super Saiyan.
his super saneness on the Division 6.
Absolutely. In Conference A, the standings currently have TMNB. Go to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, watch the whole series because you have a lot of time because your season's done.
They're not gonna watch anything.
Yeah, I know. Maybe some Netflix. Maybe some House of Cards. But for the other teams, we have Flagrant Fouls leading the pack. LA's Finest right behind them. It could go either way. We'll see who takes the conference. We'll talk about it in a second. Obamacare at 3. Wolfpack right behind. NWO, Zhangi, Mountain Goats. The Pocket Watch currently have the 8th seed, but they're the only team that hasn't clinched yet.
Who are you playing next?
We are playing Zhangi.
Right. Don't get into a fight.
No, we don't fight. We're old. Smoke and Axels at the 9th spot. The Minge at 10. In this one, first of all, let's talk about Flagrant Fouls and LA's Finest. We have this week. We have
I think NWO is playing. No,
NWO is playing Obamacare.
Obamacare, yeah. No, it's gonna be Flagrant Fouls against TMNB, which is, my God, that you couldn't ask for an easier way to end off the season.
Yeah, I think they'll hold the 1 spot.
They definitely will.
And who else do we got? Another interesting game here.
It's LA's finest against Orange Crush.
Yeah, LA's finest Orange Crush.
And that's also an easy victory.
So just like Conference B, a lot of the potential battles may be decided by some moot point games. Now,
But
if we look at
Zhangyi playing
if we look at the
Pakawatch,
bottom of the conference, however, Zhangyi plays Pakawatch, which is undoubtedly going to be a tough game for Pakawatch. Although it should be low scoring, so it could be the kind of game that goes anywhere, he says, hopefully. That being said, the Minj face off against Wolfpack. Wolfpack have a tremendous defense, and the Minj are currently without their quarterback, Matt Young, and have been having trouble on offense all season anyway. And Smoke and Axolts, oddly enough, these are the last 3 games of the week.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting. Smoke and Axolts are playing against the surprising Mountain Goats.
Right.
So I think, and again, he says hopefully, that the bottom of the conference stays pretty much the same with Pakawatch holding the
You don't see the Smoking Axes coming out with any kind of a match against Mountain Goats?
I think Mountain Goats are a surprisingly good team, and you don't necessarily see it when you see them warming up on the sideline or whatever, but they communicate well and they're very quick. And I think
Because that can really change things. Say if they happen to lose that game,
Well, if Pocket Watch loses and Smoke and Axolotls win, the wins will stay the same, the divisional record will stay the same, but at that point, Smoke and Axolotls will likely have less points against, so they would take the seed.
they would take the seed and you guys would be kicked out.
most likely, yes.
So that's probably what's
so
going to happen.
basically, it comes down to if you think Smoke and Axolotls will win, then Smoke and Axolotls would make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it
If-
also depends on how much Pocket Watch would lose by and how much Axolotls would
Yeah.
win by.
But right now, currently, they have the same divisional record. Oh, and it's a non-divisional game?
It would be points against.
It will come down to points against. Okay.
Yes.
So Smoke and Axolotls Pocket Watch with a slight advantage here.
So for people that don't understand what you're saying, what's the tiebreaker?
tiebreaker in a two-way tie is head-to-head record. Pocket Watch and Smoke and Axolotls haven't played against each other.
Well, before that, you even get into wins.
Points, wins. Then there's head-to-head record. Unless it's a three-way tie in which you don't count a head-to-head record. Because if you all beat each other, it ends up as a giant circle quirk.
Giant beat off.
Divisional percentage.
Then there's the divisional record, and then finally the last one's points against, and then we fight to the death or
Plus minus.
plus
But it
minus
never gets there.
Cage match.
cage match. You fight a homeless person, see what happens. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. It'll be a definitely interesting week in Division 6. But enough about that. On to everyone's favorite segment. It is Science Hour with Duke. Every week, as children, we would drink many adult juice boxes, as previously declared,
Beers.
and we would talk. Yeah, that's the one. And we would talk at length about things that you had no idea what we're talking about.
But you
Most times
would
we talk about
always
science.
pretend that I was right. Now you don't anymore.
Oh no, you are right, and now whatever you define will become the definition forever.
I just wrote on
and
my
we have
pants.
a guest. We have a guest. You just wrote on your pants.
Is there a way to
it
get
doesn't bode well, by the way.
Is there a way to get ink out of my pants?
Yes, buying new pants. We have a guest question coming in from Beck Hollander. Sort of a live tweet, but more just a live. Brent, what is the question for Science Hour with Duke?
Okay, Duke, so the question is define kinetic friction.
Whoa, wait.
Kinetic friction.
Kinetic.
He spelled it with a C, so I like this.
No.
Kinetic.
Kinetic friction.
Kinetic friction.
And the laws that it abides by.
But like, how am I gonna make
Go
this
ahead.
G-rated?
30 seconds or less.
Okay, kinetic friction. All right, so you see a girl, she looks really good, right? And like she's walking down the street, and like you're feeling kind of sensations down there, right? And you know, like when you're wearing really tight pants or maybe tight underwear, and like it kind of sticks. It sticks together. Everything sticks together. So I think it's like there's like a friction that's created, a friction in your heart, friction in your pants, but there's an immense amount of connection.
Absolutely.
Connection between your skin and the pants that you're wearing. Things become tighter due to the excessive and beautiful butt of this girl you're seeing. So I think that you also feel a bit of connection, and there's a little bit of friction. So you're wondering like, how am I gonna connect? How am I gonna connect with this girl? Well, the only way is by showing her my friction.
And with now that we know that you have to show off your friction, which obviously that is absolute definition. It's going into the books tomorrow. Thank you for that. Thank you for educating us all. What are your final thoughts this week?
Final thoughts this week are don't start fights with each other. I think we've seen enough of that. There's been enough fights to go around.
A new letter came up from President Campana this week saying, if you fight, you're not welcome to play in this league anymore. Basically, we don't want you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're fighting, you're a very insecure person, and you should probably seek some anger management classes.
Yeah, or like, eat some cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe? Yeah, but you're gonna poo funny after.
Yeah, right. That being
It
said,
comes out all orange and
it's
stuff.
time for my Thursday lesson plan. It's going to be a two-parter real quick. The first part of it is we didn't have a chance to make our picks. But what I'll do is I'll get your picks and I'll post them on the Facebook wall. I will put them out on Twitter as well for those of you who want to follow us. And yet it gives you another reason to follow us. So that'll be coming out very soon. The other thing is I want to talk quickly about injuries. Last night, Christian Sarantola had to leave in an ambulance. These are two Division 3 games, but still, I figure it's an important thing to address. Christian Sarantola left in an
Wear your
ambulance.
brace.
With his brace. And we have Omar Jackson on the another field leaving with appears to be a broken leg. Honestly, our hearts go out to them. It really sucks.
It does.
We have lives outside of this league as well, so it's very unpleasant. Please be careful out there. It's a beautiful game, and unfortunately injuries are part of it. Do what you can to avoid them. Until then, have a great, safe week. Deez, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. You're always
Eagle.
welcome.
Thanks for everything. Of course, you can follow him at Dave's Republic.
At Peanut Butter Sandwich.
Eagle, you can follow at Eagle FPF. And you can join me at Peas FPF. Until next week, random sign off.
Don't touch yourself in public places.